I've lost my pen. This is a great start. I found it. Even better start. Do need to see if this is working though. Okay. I think that everything is working, and I think that we're here for another retro review. Retro review number 13 to be exact. It is very fitting because this weekend WWE Backlash 2025 will be taking place. So we're going back in time, not that far back. But we're reviewing another Backlash event. This one being WrestleMania Backlash 2022. We're right in the middle of the Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes trilogy. In a matter of moments, we'll be talking about that because it is the opening contest. I don't think there's anything else that major to discuss. I will go ahead and say that 4 out of the 6 matches on this event are WrestleMania rematches. So I can say that this weekend's event, at least, is going in a different direction, which might benefit it a little bit more. So time will tell with that. But again, we're here. We're reviewing WrestleMania Backlash 2022. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes 2. Let's get right into it. This is my second take. So this is why I had to skip the entrances on here, but I had not started the match. So y'all get to see that taking place right here, right now. So, our opening contest on this event was Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes 2. The main point, the main difference in this match and the reasoning for it is that this time around, Seth could be prepared because going into the WrestleMania match, it was a big surprise that Cody would be his opponent. He didn't know who his opponent was going to be, so he asked for the rematch because now he had the time and opponent to prepare for. And that preparation was very key early on as he reversed several of Cody's maneuvers until the match spilled to the outside, and he was able to land a big clothesline. Once back in the ring, Cody finally lands something with a disaster kick that gets a 2 count. Then it is back and forth after this until Cody lands a big suplex off of the second rope. The two exchange chops and punches after this point, with both attempting dives to the outside, but neither delivering. Cody does deliver on a Cody Cutter that gets a 2 count, and then Seth reverses a disaster kick into a buckle bomb and a frog splash for a 2 count. Then he attempts a Phoenix splash, but Cody moves out of the way. Seth then runs up the ropes for a suplex, and Cody, when they're both on their feet, hits a crossroads, but Seth gets his feet perfectly into the ropes before the referee counts to 3, so it was a very close call. Cody misses his moonsault, with Seth following up with a pedigree that gets a 2 count, and then Cody attempts another crossroads and a vertebreaker. Shout out to Shane Helms, with both men attempting roll-ups after this point, and Cody's roll-up getting the count of 3. But he does have his hands on Seth's tights, so Cody is able to go up 2-0 on Seth Rollins in the series of matchups. Now, I will say this. I think we really need to wait until we review their third matchup, which we'll be doing in a couple of weeks. But I think right now, and I might change my mind a little bit later, but if I had to ask me right now, and even after the match, I think that this match was a little bit better in ring-wise than their WrestleMania encounter. But obviously, that matchup is remembered a lot more because it was Cody's big return to the company, and it was at WrestleMania. But there's also a high chance that their third matchup that takes place overshadows both of them. So, again, like I said, I guess we need to wait a little bit longer for that. But overall, I thought that this matchup was, in ring-wise, a little bit better than their WrestleMania encounter. Overall, good opening contest. Now, we need to determine 3 other matches. Was it better than the WrestleMania match or not? And I will say that this one was not the case, this next matchup. Omos versus Bobby Lashley 2. Now, again, there's a big difference this time around because Omos now has MVP by his side. MVP used to be Bobby Lashley's manager, but turned on him after the events of WrestleMania and joined up with Omos. So, again, like I said, there's a bit of a difference here. Lashley lands some punches early until MVP distracts him on the outside. Omos mainly delivers back shots to Lashley until Lashley is able to power up. And Omos gets tied up in the ropes with Lashley attacking him and punching him several times until MVP interferes and tells the referee let Omos out and is trying to help Omos get out from being tied up in the ropes. Lashley is able to apply the Hurt Lock, which is very impressive, but exhausts both men. And Lashley is able to land a choke slam on Omos. But Omos gets a knee up for the spear attempt that Lashley attempted afterwards. And MVP hits Lashley with his cane. And Omos gets the victory, which is different from the WrestleMania counter. I think I enjoyed the WrestleMania match because it went by a lot quicker. And this matchup, what went on for quite a while, doing the same old, where the WrestleMania match was not really that case. But again, with the difference and a different winner, kind of a little bit of a change. And I'm fairly certain that these two men meet up at least one more time with a bit of a difference a little bit later on. But we'll get to that when we get to that. As again, we have another WrestleMania 38 rematch. And this one being Edge versus AJ Styles. I almost combined both their names. It said AJ. I sounded pretty damn dumb right there. But we have Edge versus AJ Styles 2. Now, again, what's the difference this time around? Damian Priest, who helped Edge win at WrestleMania, is not allowed to be at ringside for this matchup as AJ defeated him on an episode of Raw and it banned him from ringside. So this time around, it should just be Edge versus AJ Styles. Does it end up being that? We'll see. We get an immediate brawl to start the matchup with AJ taking it to the outside, including a springboard moonsault. AJ then targets the injured arm. Oh my god, I wrote that out. See, I'm going pretty dumb with their names. Edge then targets the injured arm of AJ for a while, and then AJ gets back into it with a Pele kick and a pair of clotheslines and a Frankensteiner that gives him a 2 count. The calf crusher gets Edge out of it when he slams AJ on the mat. And then the middle turnbuckle is exposed with Edge aiming for a spear and hitting it, and instead it still gets a 2 count. So, normally that would be a match ender, but Edge was able to kick out at the count of 2. AJ lands the Styles Clash that gets a 2 count. And then Damian Priest, who should not be at ringside, he stops at the stage, so he took it very literal, gets pushed into the ringside area by Finn Balor, who comes to the aid of AJ Styles. And those two brawl for quite a while until a hooded figure appears and pushes AJ off of the top ropes and right into Edge, attempting a crossface that eventually AJ passes out of. And we learn that hooded person ended up being Rhea Ripley as the Judgment Day, which I do not think that they were called that. They did not say, oh, this is the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day gets a new member and it ended up being Rhea Ripley. Again, I know what ends up happening, and it was very weird that a lot of this matchup and very much the promo package into this matchup was like highlighting Edge and his reasoning for turning and pairing with Damian Priest and essentially the prequel to the Judgment Day. What I'm trying to get at is I don't really know what the hell they were thinking, / Edge was thinking with this character. I don't really want to call it a character, this phase of his career. Because he had came back, got the cheers, bit of a nostalgia run, and then he wanted to try something different, which I'm all right with that. I admire that. But if he wanted to really be a bad guy, when he thrived as his best as a bad guy was as the rated R superstar. And maybe he wanted to go back to his Brood era, which I think a lot of these similarities, we could see a lot of similarities early on with the Brood and Judgment Day. I could see that happening. But I also feel that if he went back and became the rated R superstar, that he wouldn't have been able to get Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley involved or get them over, as they would say. So it's very weird to look back at this time period a little bit. But again, this is another matchup where things are to be continued at the next premium live event. I think they're still calling them pay-per-views then. So, and I will admit that matchup that takes place at the next one was very fun. As we have one last WrestleMania 38 rematch to discuss, and this one for the SmackDown Women's Championship is an I Quit match. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. We get an aggressive start from both with judo tosses by Rousey, and then they go to the outside where Charlotte delivers several chops, and Rousey telling her that she chops like a bitch. A kendo stick comes into play with Charlotte pushing Ronda into a cameraman to avoid any more shots. Then the two brawl into the crowd. Soda is spilt everywhere, and then they go back over the guardrail, and Ronda is powerbombed on the guardrail. Ronda applies the armbar with both attached to the ring post, and eventually it has to be let go. Charlotte did not quit. And once the hold is broken, Charlotte lands a natural selection in the ring, and then a chair comes into play as she hits another natural selection, this time on the chair. And lastly, the chair comes back into play as Rousey applies an armbar while Charlotte's arm is in the middle of the chair, and it's not completely in all the way, and then it is, and then Charlotte quits at that point. And we have a new SmackDown Women's Champion, and that is Ronda Rousey. And I can definitely say that this matchup was better than their Mania match. I liked their Mania match until the finish. I think the finish to that match really killed any hope and enjoyment for that match. Where with this one, the ending wasn't really a problem. Kind of was fitting the style of match that they were putting together. So I think that this matchup was better than their Mania matchup. But you could even argue that this is what they should have just done at Mania, but it's better to get it now than never. As now, we finally move away from the WrestleMania rematch section. But this matchup does have ties to WrestleMania 38, and this involves Happy Corbin versus Madcap Moss. A match between two Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winners, two former friends, and essentially Happy Corbin blames Madcap Moss for his loss at WrestleMania and is really done being friends with him. And even to the point where he tries to break Madcap Moss's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. But Madcap does not let that happen, so these two need to settle their differences here. A dominant start by Corbin, including his outside to inside clothesline. And Moss gets his offense in with shoulder bumps, spears, and a follow-away slam, as Corbin replies back with a deep six that gets a 2 count. And then Moss has a roll-up that gets a quick 3 count. Don't worry, these two run it back next month. I don't remember how that match goes, so that'll be an interesting sign of things. But kind of an match in this show. It is what it is. Maybe I have more thoughts about it next month. I don't know. So now we have a massive 6-man tag match to close this show. Drew McIntyre and RK-Bro versus the Bloodline. WrestleMania 38 closed with Bloodline member Roman Reigns becoming an undisputed WWE Universal Champion, and his other Bloodline members, the Usos, look to do the same with the Tag Team Championships. And they were going to do it at this show. It's going to be SmackDown Tag Champions, the Usos, versus the Raw Tag Champions, RK-Bro. But Roman Reigns inserted himself in and attacked RK-Bro as Drew McIntyre came to their aid and saved the day. So, spoiler alert, that tag team unification does happen. Why they were like, yeah, we don't need it at WrestleMania Backlash, I don't know. Because you would think that a historic title victory you would want to happen on a pay-per-view. But, sometimes you need it to happen on TV. So, it eventually does happen on an episode of SmackDown. And the Usos won that. I didn't want to spoil it for y'all, but I feel that y'all probably do. But we do get a fun 6-man tag to close out this show. Drew McIntyre and RK-Bro versus the Bloodline. Randy and Jimmy start the match off with Drew quickly tagging in and wanting Roman to tag in, which he does. But they don't lock up or anything because Roman immediately tags out to Jay. Riddle is trapped in his opponent's corner for a while until Reigns tags in, thinking it is all fine and dandy. Riddle quickly tags Drew back in, and those two finally do go face-to-face. Then the Usos quickly get back involved, and Reigns hits a Superman punch on McIntyre. Then Reigns spends some time taunting, even with both of his championships, and gets hit with a Claymore by McIntyre. Orton lands an RKO on Reigns and Jimmy, but Jay breaks up the pinfall attempt. Drew attempts the Claymore just to be caught with a super kick. Riddle's floating bro on Jay gets a 2 count, and then they all start to brawl on the outside and in front of the announce table, which Drew gets put through. Riddle is able to hit the RKO on Jay, but he is hit with a Reigns spear, and we get the Bloodline being victorious. And closing out this show, don't remember what video the other day I was doing, but I was essentially saying that Backlash pay-per-views, premium live events, most of the time are fun shows. And it's very much the carryover of WrestleMania, which in general, you're hoping that most of the time WrestleMania is a fun show. This year's is debatable on which, outside of the night 2 main event, you could really, it's debatable. But point being, I hope this match ends on a count out. That would be effing hilarious. It did. That's hilarious. I love that. That's hilarious. But overall, I had fun watching this show. Mainly the opening match of the main event. The title. There was only one title match on this show as well, which is a bit insane thinking about it. But that was also a fun matchup as well. So that's it for this review. Sorry that's a bit delayed, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that's the biggest deal. Now, next week's review should be another fun one. We're going right back into the middle of another trilogy, that being the Briscoes and FTR trilogy of 2022 as well. We'll be talking about Death Before Dishonor 2022 from Ring of Honor Wrestling. Again, another show I'm really looking forward to. I should have my Backlash 2025 predictions up soon, so hopefully y'all check that out as well. I do appreciate y'all for watching this. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you when I see you, because I'm out for now.